Under a bleeding Martian sky, James stood at the edge of a ruined colony, the ghost of every fallen soldier whispering in the howling wind. His heart pounded like distant war drums as the acrid scent of burning metal and red dust filled his lungs. Each scar on his weathered face was a testament to sacrifice and relentless survival, a fierce promise that he would defy the crushing despair threatening to engulf his people. In that desperate moment, with chaos swirling all around him, James emerged as the last beacon of hope. Mars, 2322, was a world of relentless brutality and stark beauty. The once hopeful colony now lay shattered beneath relentless dust storms and the weight of history. Crumbling biodomes and ancient alien relics jutted from the scarlet soil like relics of a forgotten era, their silent presence a constant reminder of a past filled with promise and peril. Every shattered pane of glass, every twisted piece of metal echoed the tragic symphony of war. James, a battle-hardened veteran, surveyed the desolation with a gaze that mixed determination with deep-seated sorrow. Each step he took resonated with memories of lost comrades and the relentless struggle for survival. The barren Martian wind carried not just particles of red dust, but whispers of the voices of those who had given their lives for this battered outpost. His resolve was as rugged as the jagged terrain, unyielding and raw. Behind him, the remnants of his team gathered in a huddled formation near what once was a bustling command center. John, his trusted second-in-command, exuded quiet strength, his steady eyes reflecting the weight of responsibility. Staler, the elusive shadow in the chaos, melted into the dim corridors, ever alert for the enemy's next move. David's analytical mind was already weaving strategies, mapping potential escape routes and ambush points in his head. Ambassador's fingers danced over a worn control panel, her inventive mind working furiously to repurpose salvaged tech, while Willem, with fierce determination, gripped his weapon like a lifeline against the encroaching darkness. In the silence before the storm of battle, every sound, the distant thud of heavy machinery, the whispering wind, the muffled clamor of scattered footsteps, became a prelude to the inevitable conflict. James's eyes, hardened by years of struggle, locked onto the horizon where fate and fury converged. The ruins of Mars were not merely a battlefield. They were the crucible in which the human spirit would either shatter or be reborn. And in that defining moment, with hope flickering against overwhelming despair, the war for the soul of humanity had already begun. A sudden jarring tremor rattled the ground beneath the outpost, a prelude to the onslaught that would shatter its fragile calm. In an instant the silence was replaced by a cacophony of piercing alarms and the reverberating thud of colossal war machines rolling over the scarlet Martian soil. The very air vibrated with an ominous energy, as if Mars itself were bracing for a cataclysm. From the horizon, dark silhouettes emerged, slicing through the dusty veil of the planet's atmosphere. These were Walker's alien forces, silent, relentless, and unyielding. Their approach was methodical, almost surgical, as if each step had been calculated to instill terror. The ground quivered under their march, and as they drew nearer, the low hum of advanced propulsion systems grew into a roar that mingled with the screams of metal grinding against metal. James, standing at the heart of the outpost's central corridor, felt a chill slice through the desolation. The memories of previous battles surged in his mind. But this was different. This was a deliberate, cold incursion. He could see the enemy's mechanized units advancing in a grim parade, their armored forms glinting under the harsh Martian light, every inch a testament to the brutal efficiency of their commander. "Positions, hold steady," James bellowed, his voice echoing off the shattered walls of the command center. His tone was a blend of urgency and ironclad resolve, a command to his weary yet unyielding team to stand firm in the face of overwhelming odds. The words cut through the chaos, rallying his soldiers even as the first energy blasts began to etch fiery scars across the corridor. Every sense was assaulted by the relentless barrage. The scent of scorched metal and ionized air filled the space, mixing with the ever-present red dust that had settled like a shroud over the remnants of the once vibrant colony. The ground shook with every impact, and the sporadic crackle of static electricity heralded more explosions. Sparks danced in the gloom as alien weaponry met human fortifications, the sound a discordant symphony of war. Within moments, the narrow corridors transformed into mazes of frantic movement. John, ever the calm presence amid the storm, moved swiftly to reposition critical defenses, his eyes scanning the incoming threat with a practiced precision. Staler melted into the shadows, his silhouette disappearing into the labyrinth of ruined passageways, ready to strike from unseen angles. David's mind raced, formulating strategies on the fly as he coordinated with Ambassador, who was feverishly working to divert power and reconfigure ancient tech into something usable against the invaders. Amid the chaos, the harsh clang of metal and the searing burn of energy weapons became the language of survival. Each explosion sent shrapnel spiraling like deadly confetti, a reminder of the fine line between order and utter devastation. The corridor, once a silent witness to the outpost's history, was now alive with the frantic heartbeat of conflict. Outside, the alien assault grew ever more menacing. Walker's forces, with their sleek, biomechanical exosuits and luminous emotionless visors, advanced with relentless precision. Their presence was unnerving, a stark contrast to the ragtag human defenders who relied on raw determination and ingenuity to hold the line. The enemy's technology was a chilling blend of the organic and the mechanical, each unit moving as if controlled by a singular ruthless intellect. "Fire at will," James commanded, his voice rising above the din as he ordered the activation of the defensive turrets. Energy beams sliced through the air, meeting the enemy in bursts of brilliant yet destructive light. The impact was immediate, a series of explosive reactions that momentarily pushed back the alien tide. But for every unit that fell, more surged forward, their arrival a relentless tide of dark, alien intent. In that frenetic maelstrom of violence and sound, every second felt like an eternity. The outpost's survival hinged on the swift execution of desperate strategies and the unwavering courage of its defenders. James's eyes, alight with fierce determination, darted between the advancing enemy and his team. Each soldier's face reflected the same raw emotion, fear yes, but more dominantly, a steely resolve to stand their ground. As the battle raged, the very fabric of the outpost's existence was tested. Walls that had withstood years of dust storms and isolation now trembled under the relentless assault. The air was thick with the acrid taste of ionized metal and the palpable tension of imminent collapse. Yet amid the chaos and destruction, a singular truth burned clear. This was a fight for survival, a last stand that would determine the future of humanity on Mars. The relentless advance of Walker's forces was a brutal reminder that in this unforgiving landscape, defeat was a constant threat. But as the energy of human resistance blazed in defiant bursts across the ruined corridors, hope, however fragile, flickered in every determined heart. The siege had begun, and in its deafening roar, the battle for Mars and for the soul of its people had truly been unleashed. In the dim, pulsating glow of the command center, the atmosphere crackled with urgency and determination. The holographic map, suspended in midair with shifting red hues, illuminated the scarred walls of the outpost. Every shattered window framed the relentless Martian dusk outside, while inside, the red light painted the faces of James and his team with both hope and hardship. James stood at the forefront, his eyes fixed on the intricate network of defense lines and vulnerable breach points projected before him. The hologram's gentle hum was a stark contrast to the chaos outside, yet every flicker on the map echoed the ticking of the clock. His voice, firm and resolute, cut through the quiet tension. "Every second counts. We're on the edge of oblivion, but this is our moment to defy the inevitable." Gathered in a semicircle, his team absorbed his words with a blend of steely determination and apprehension. John, the steadfast second-in-command, double-checked the defensive fortifications etched onto the digital display. His calm, deliberate nod conveyed both trust in their plan and the heavy responsibility of the moment. At the periphery, Staler moved silently, his keen eyes scanning the map for unseen vulnerabilities. The stealth expert's presence was as subtle as the shifting shadows in the ruined corridors, a silent promise that no enemy ambush would catch them off guard. His confident gaze belied the burden of knowing that every covert move could be the linchpin of their counteroffensive. David, the tactician, leaned in close to the hologram, his mind racing through countless variables. Every contour on the map sparked calculations of enemy approach and potential ambush points. His voice, low and analytical, broke the silence as he pinpointed a likely route for the alien siege engines. If we fortify the east wing and lure them in, we can isolate their advance, he suggested, his tone laden with precise certainty. Ambassair's nimble fingers danced across the control panel, reconfiguring the outpost's power grid with the deftness of a master engineer. Amid the sporadic beeps and flickering screens, she reallocated energy to reinforce the aging shields and bolster their communication lines. "I'm redirecting the power now," she announced, her eyes sparking with a blend of urgency and inventive brilliance. "It's temporary, but it'll buy us the time we need." Near the entrance, William stood vigilantly, his eyes shifting between the command center and the corridor beyond. Every muscle in his body radiated readiness. "Once we breach their line, I'll lead the push," he declared, his voice resolute and unwavering. His stance was the embodiment of courage, a living barricade against the encroaching darkness. As the team exchanged determined glances, the holographic map transformed from a mere tool into a battleground of strategy and sacrifice. James traced his finger along the digital pathways, outlining routes that could deliver swift and decisive blows. His tone softened momentarily, conveying both the weight of responsibility and a deep-seated belief in the survival of his people. "This is more than just a plan. It's our lifeline. We're not just defending a building. We're fighting for every soul in this outpost." Each word sparked a renewed energy among his team. The command center, once echoing with the distant sounds of battle, now thrummed with focused resolve. The interplay of red lights, digital projections, and the hushed intensity of whispered tactical orders wove a tapestry of hope in a place that had known nothing but despair. The outpost, battered yet unyielding, became a silent testament to humanity's will to survive. The strategies laid out in the flickering glow of the hologram were more than just military maneuvers. They were a promise that in the face of relentless alien aggression, human ingenuity and courage would never be extinguished. As the meeting came to a close, James's gaze swept over his comrades, each face reflecting a complex mix of fear, resolve, and the unspoken promise of sacrifice. "We have one shot at this," he murmured, the gravity of his words sinking into the hearts of his team. "Let's make every second count." With their roles defined and their spirits ignited, the team dispersed to their stations, each step a silent vow to rally the outpost and reclaim the fading light of hope. In that charged moment, amidst the converging tides of strategy and raw emotion, the seeds of their counteroffensive were sown, a beacon to illuminate the dark corridors of despair and pave the way for a resurgence of human resilience. The battlefield erupted into chaos as the last vestiges of order were swept away by a relentless tide of alien might. Under the burning Martian twilight, the air was thick with dust, energy discharges, and the screams of a desperate struggle. Red sand churned violently underfoot as explosions carved jagged scars into the barren landscape. Every impact sent shockwaves through the ruined corridors, rattling walls and shattering the fragile calm that had barely held the outpost together. James led his team into the heart of the storm, his eyes burning with the determination of a man who had nothing left to lose. With his energy rifle gripped tightly in his calloused hands, he moved forward like a lone beacon of defiance amid the chaos. Around him, his soldiers fought with the ferocity of those who had no option but to survive. The searing noise of clashing weapons, the bitter tang of ionized air, and the acrid stench of burning metal merged into a sensory onslaught that blurred the line between time and terror. In the swirling dust and flickering light of energy blasts, the team became a living, breathing formation, a seamless blend of instinct and sacrifice. John orchestrated defensive maneuvers with a precision honed through countless battles, his calm voice over the Kamlenka lifeline amid the bedlam. "Hold your positions. Cover every flank," he commanded, his tone steady even as explosions rippled through the corridor. Nearby, Staler melted into the shifting shadows, his lithe figure darting silently between the crumbling pillars to strike at unsuspecting foes before disappearing back into the darkness. The symphony of battle reached a fever pitch when Willem, embodying raw courage, charged headlong into the fray. With each calculated swing of his weapon, he carved out narrow paths of hope in the alien onslaught. Ambassador, ever the ingenious tactician, worked furiously to repurpose the outpost's ancient defenses. Sparks flew as she hacked into malfunctioning systems, rerouting power to create temporary shields that glowed like fragile holos amid the inferno. Meanwhile, David's mind raced as he adjusted strategies in real time, his eyes darting between the chaotic battlefield and his tactical displays, searching for patterns in the chaos. Amid the swirling tumult, a moment of eerie stillness emerged, a brief pause where the clamor of battle receded into a heavy, anticipatory silence. It was in that suspended heartbeat that James found himself face to face with Walker, the ruthless alien commander whose very presence seemed to distort the air around him. The biomechanical warrior loomed, his form a grotesque fusion of organic sinew and advanced machinery. His visor, cold and unyielding, glowed with an unsettling luminescence that pierced the smoke and dust. Their eyes locked, and in that fleeting exchange, a collision of wills occurred. The sound of distant explosions and frantic cries faded into the background as they circled one another like two titans in a dying world. "Your resistance is futile, human," Walker intoned in a voice as merciless as the void of space. His words slithered through the chaos, carrying an almost hypnotic chill. James's response was immediate and resolute. "This is our home, our future," he spat, his voice raw with defiance. "We fight for every life, every memory, every spark of hope left on this forsaken world." The two adversaries stood on the precipice of a personal war, a microcosm of the broader conflict raging around them. Around them, the battle continued with unyielding brutality. Every strike exchanged between human and alien was a testament to the desperate struggle for survival. The red sands of Mars became a canvas painted in blood and fire, where every fallen soldier, every shattered piece of technology, bore silent witness to the high cost of hope. Energy beams clashed, creating bursts of light that illuminated fleeting moments of heroism. Staler's precise strikes, Willem's fearless charge, and Ambassador's ingenious deflections. The very ground quaked under the weight of relentless conflict. Walls that had once sheltered the weary survivors trembled as if mourning the loss of lives, their cracked surfaces reflecting the ghostly light of distant explosions. The atmosphere was a tempest of raw power and human tenacity, where each pulse of a rifle and each resounding explosion was a note in the symphony of war. In this crucible of battle, time itself seemed to slow. Every heartbeat, every drop of sweat, and every cry of anguish blended into an overwhelming surge of purpose. The team fought not just against a physical enemy, but against the very notion of despair. The alien invaders, with their cold, calculated cruelty, were met with the unyielding spirit of humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to gain. As the dust settled momentarily, and the relentless cadence of war persisted, James felt the weight of every fallen comrade in the deep lines of his face. The battle was far from over, and each breath was a silent promise to those who had sacrificed everything. In the heart of the inferno, amid shattered dreams and blazing determination, the human spirit ignited with an intensity that defied the darkness. The crucible of battle was not merely a contest of firepower, it was an epic clash of ideologies, a defiant stand against a fate that sought to erase all that was human. And in the midst of the chaos, every burst of light, Every spark of resistance forged a legacy that would echo across the desolate plains of Mars long after the echoes of war had faded. When the cacophony of battle finally faded, an eerie silence descended upon the battered outpost. The air, still heavy with the bitter tang of scorched metal and ionized dust, carried the mournful echo of explosions long past. Red sands, once violently churned by the fury of combat, now lay still, a silent canvas stained with the blood and tears of heroes. In the soft, somber glow of the Martian dusk, the remnants of the fierce struggle stood as living memorials to the sacrifices made. James trudged through the debris-littered corridors, each step a painful reminder of the chaos that had just subsided. His eyes, red-rimmed and weary, scanned the wreckage, a labyrinth of shattered walls and smoldering craters where once resolute defenses had stood. In the stillness that followed the storm, every whisper of the wind seemed to carry the voices of fallen comrades, a solemn litany of loss and remembrance. Gathered in the center of what had been the command hub, his team congregated like a broken family, clinging to one another in the aftermath of tragedy. John, ever the anchor of calm amidst turmoil, offered quiet reassurances as he methodically accounted for every life and piece of equipment. His steady tone belied the sorrow that churned beneath the surface, a sorrow shared by all who had witnessed the price of their defiance. David, eyes haunted by the calculated precision of lost lives, quietly recounted the cost of each tactical maneuver. His voice, usually so clear and decisive, now trembled with the weight of every decision that had led to both survival and sacrifice. Every fallen friend, every lost hope, was etched into his mind like scars on the Martian rock. Ambassador knelt before a damaged control panel, her hands still trembling from the adrenaline of battle. Amid the flicker of failing lights and the soft hum of regenerating energy, she muttered plans for repair, a tentative promise that even in ruin, there lay a path to recovery. Each recalibrated circuit, every salvaged piece of technology, was a tribute to the ingenuity that had allowed them to endure. In a quiet corner, Staler allowed himself a rare moment of vulnerability. His usual reserve had given way to a solemn nod and a silent farewell to the comrades who would never return. His eyes, dark and unreadable, glimmered with unspoken memories, a private homage to the fallen that no one else could see. The silence, though heavy, was punctuated by soft, grief-laden dialogue. Hushed voices exchanged recollections of bravery and whispered names that would live on in the hearts of the survivors. Each conversation was an elegy, a testament to the valor that had defined the battle and the profound cost of holding the line against an overwhelming enemy. Outside, the wind began to stir, as if nature itself mourned the carnage. Dust swirled slowly, caressing the ruins with a delicate persistence, while the fading light of the Martian sun cast long, somber shadows over the broken landscape. In that transient twilight, the outpost was transformed from a battlefield into a sacred ground, hallowed by the echoes of sacrifice and the indomitable spirit of those who had fought for every heartbeat of hope. James, standing amid the quiet ruins, closed his eyes and allowed himself a moment of raw, unfiltered grief. The weight of every lost life pressed against him, yet within that sorrow lay a spark, a fierce, unyielding determination to honor the memory of those who had fallen by rebuilding what was shattered. He vowed that their sacrifice would not be in vain. Every rebuilt wall, every reactivated light would sing the silent anthem of courage and resilience. As the night deepened and the Martian sky revealed its countless distant stars, the survivors of the outpost slowly began to rise from the ashes. Their hearts, though burdened with grief, beat with a renewed resolve, a promise that even in the echoes of sacrifice, there would be a dawn of rebirth and hope. As the first fragile rays of Martian dawn crept over the horizon, a somber yet determined hush blanketed the battered outpost. The red dust, still settling from the previous night's fury, glowed in the gentle light of a new day, a silent promise that even the deepest wounds could begin to heal. James stood on a crumbling balcony, his weathered face softened by the golden hues of sunrise, Every shattered pane and scarred wall around him told a story of relentless conflict. Yet in this nascent light, there was also the stirring of hope. The air, crisp and cool after the relentless heat of battle, carried the faint aroma of reactivated power systems and the subtle tang of rejuvenated metal. Below, the survivors gathered amidst the ruins, their faces etched with fatigue and grief, but also with an unspoken resolve. They moved with a measured purpose, beginning the painstaking work of reconstruction. Amidst the rubble, fragments of old technology were repurposed into beacons of resilience, a symbol of their unwavering determination to forge a future from the remnants of a ravaged past. John, ever the pillar of steadiness, coordinated the clearing of debris with quiet efficiency. His steady hands guided fellow survivors as they salvaged usable components, while his calm words reassured those who trembled at the thought of rebuilding. Nearby, Ambassador worked fervently over a makeshift control panel, re-establishing connections to the outpost's fading energy grid. Sparks flew as she coaxed life back into the system, her eyes alight with innovative fervor despite the weariness of recent trials. In one corner, Staler, usually a figure of silent strength during combat, allowed himself a brief moment of reflection. His gaze lingered on a faded mural etched into the wall, a relic of a time when hope was abundant and dreams were unbound. The mural, depicting a thriving Mars with endless possibilities, resonated with him deeply, reminding him that their fight was not just for survival, but for the rebirth of a better world. David, with his ever-analytical mind, meticulously revised their tactical maps and defenses. He spoke softly with William, who had been at the forefront of the battle. Their exchange was quiet, filled with a mutual understanding born of shared peril and sacrifice. William's voice, steady yet tinged with the weight of loss, carried promises of vigilance as they prepared for whatever might come next. As the outpost stirred to a new rhythm, James led his team on a silent march through the corridors, each step echoing the resilience of the human spirit. In the gentle early light, the ruins were transformed, not into monuments of despair, but into canvases upon which the survivors could paint a future of hope and renewal. The skeletal remains of shattered structures were slowly being replaced with reinforced barriers and newly salvaged technology, as if each repair was an act of defiance against the chaos that had nearly consumed them. In the central square of the outpost, a makeshift memorial had been erected. Names of fallen comrades were etched into battered metal plaques, surrounded by wild, stubborn Martian flora that had begun to sprout from the cracks in the ground. This memorial was both a tribute and a call to arms, a reminder that every sacrifice had paved the way for this fragile rebirth. As survivors placed small tokens and whispered silent farewells, their actions became a promise that the sacrifices of yesterday would not be forgotten. Throughout the day, as the sun ascended higher into the Martian sky, the outpost gradually transformed from a battlefield into a living testament to human endurance. The once chaotic clamor of battle was replaced by the rhythmic sounds of reconstruction, metal clanging, hammers striking, and voices merging in a chorus of cautious optimism. In these moments, every repaired wall and every reactivated light symbolized a collective vow to persevere, to honor the fallen, and to build a future where hope could flourish amidst adversity. James, standing at the heart of the revival, allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The journey had been fraught with hardship, and the scars of battle were etched not only in the physical terrain, but in the souls of every survivor. Yet, as he surveyed the outpost, bathed in the new day's light, he recognized that they were not merely surviving, they were evolving. In the rising sun, every member of his team saw a vision of what could be, a renewed sanctuary on a scarred planet, a place where humanity could rise again. With cautious optimism permeating the air and the collective will of the survivors binding them together, a new chapter began on Mars. The promise of a rebuilt future, mingled with the resolve to face ongoing challenges, for the threat of Walker's forces still loomed. But in that dawning light, The fire of human spirit shone brighter than ever, a beacon for all who dared to dream of peace, unity, and a future forged by courage.